All right, it's been a minute since we've done this. We haven't done the monthly Q&A in more than a month, I think. So let's talk about some stuff. If you guys are new to this video, the usual spiel is this. I take questions from the comment section of this video. So essentially, last month's Q&A, the comments you guys left there, I took questions from there. So I get questions from the comment section, so leave questions in this comment section for the next video. I also get them from YouTube and Patreon membership people, so thank you guys for having my back, but this is just an opportunity to talk about stuff I wouldn't normally talk about in other videos. So let's just roll into some questions, I guess, with the first one coming from Ty. Who says, what's an underrated mechanic in a game you wish were in more games, aside from the Nemesis system, because duh. Well, number one, I agree with the Nemesis system from the Shadow of Mordor and War games, but for me, I'm sorry guys, I'm just gonna talk about shit from Fable. Surprise, surprise, Fable fan wants Fable elements in more games. Specifically, I will not even just Fable, but I really like morality systems. I like them specifically in a way where you have levels and you build them up or lower them by doing certain things. Like, it's great when it changes the story, that's awesome, but I like a meter or a system of points to kind of work and ebb and flow with a little bit, you know, with obviously different things that come with that, like more powers, different appearance, stuff like that. That stuff to me has always just been so satisfying, seeing your progress reflected on your character. Even damage systems. I love games where damage is permanently shown on your character, whether it's long-term, like stuff like how Fable originally did creatively with like scars and stuff like that from when you would die, to just moment-to-moment stuff. Damage that actually sticks around for more than 40, 30 seconds when the blood fades away. I like feeling like I've gone through something in a challenging game or like a really rough spot, you know? King Chroniker asks, which movie characters would you like to see in Mortal Kombat 1, which was recently announced? I'd love to see Lloyd Christmas. In 1994, I adored Jim Carrey in Mortal Kombat, and Lloyd parrying Kano's fatality in Dumb and Dumber was one of the best moments of my childhood. I love that. You sound like me. We should hang out. For me, characters in Mortal Kombat, like I feel like at this point, like there should be some standards that should just be in them forever now, going forward, that just feel like they really fit. Terminator, RoboCop, and Spawn. Definitely Spawn. But also there's room for stuff like Ash. Ash was like a no-brainer. It feels like we were gonna have Ash, like we pretty much were, but we didn't. But Ash works absolutely perfectly for Mortal Kombat. Are you kidding me? Ash from the Evil Dead series, I would love to see. The Mortal Kombat series has also really kind of always embraced horror icons and just like weird stuff like that. So if we're sticking with that, I'd also like to see something a little bit different, like Michael Myers. I'd love to see how they handled him, how he would play. Could be really, really interesting. I know some people might consider him to be kind of boring from a fighter standpoint, but I don't care. He would also probably have an incredible fatality. Just think about it. In terms of the rumors and stuff, like this is of course right before we see new gameplay and stuff from this new Mortal Kombat game. Like the rumors and stuff about Homelander and Omni-Man are great. I'd say, especially if like we've had RoboCop and other, throw Judge Dredd in there. That would be sick. Like Judge Dredd, but like with different skins. So you could be the Carl Urban one, the Stallone one, or like an animated one. I would love that. Doesn't that just make sense? Doesn't that just feel Mortal Kombat? I don't know. That's just me. Red-Eyed Jedi says, are there any technological advancements in games that you imagined when you were younger that we've yet to see? I'm personally tired of better graphics and remember thinking we'd get some great leaps in AI, tech, and destructible environments. I also remember wanting games that had real changes of seasons with different flora and fauna changes to landscapes as a result. That's a great question. I think for me, in terms of stuff that we imagined but never really saw, was like, remember being younger and playing Grand Theft Auto games and being like, oh, the next one is gonna be like a whole country, like shit like that. We have yet to see absolutely big, huge, massive worlds that are completely compelling, I would say, because we've had games like The Crew, where it's like a simulated version of driving across an entire continental US. Not quite there, but there's something. But I think just a traditional open world game as they exist now, but like with the span of an entire world or an entire country or continent, doesn't make sense. It almost needs to have a completely different gameplay formula or style for that to be feasible, because that would be too big and too ridiculous. I don't know. That's like the first thing that comes off the top of my head is just like epic size, so to speak. Matt Blank says, are there any other cars you're a fan of besides the DeLorean? If there are, how did that fandom occur? Not really. Like, I'm not a car guy, but like specific things like with the DeLorean, I am a car guy, and not because of Back to the Future. I've talked about this before a lot, but I am just obsessed with that car and the story and the history behind it and all the weird quirks. There are definitely quirks. I just like 80s cars and the flaws that come with them, but like the IROC Z28. I just like movie cars too. Like, it's like a weird thing, but like I really love Mad Max's Ford Falcon. I think that's like the sickest thing in the world. And even just the history around that car is very interesting. Also, more recently, I've been obsessed with the Robert Pattinson Batmobile. Like, I think that can be a thing. I would love to have the money to make one in real life. I wouldn't make one. I would have somebody help me make one. But like, yeah, that one just has like a realm of believability to it. Like, obviously not like the screaming jet engine in the back, but like the tires, the wheels, the suspension, the body, everything about it just feels right and awesome. You thought it was going to be one Q&A video where I didn't talk about Batman? Well, you were wrong. Will Knight says, hey Jake, do you have any advice for pitching stories? I think I might have something for DC or Warner Brothers. That's interesting. Good luck to your creative endeavors. I am not a creative. I'm a talker. I'm not like an ideas guy, so to speak. But as someone who I guess has kind of been on the receiving end and really just as like a fan of stuff, for me, I think pitching, there is power to like the passion of you pitching. The storytelling aspect is what always sells me. Like I watch videos of guys on YouTube, screenwriters and stuff, who literally just talk out their entire idea for a story arc or something like that. And when they're dripping with enthusiasm, even if they're not the best orator, so to speak, there's just something there. So like, I don't know if that helps at all. I have no idea how pitching a story would even go, but that's what I got for you. Casey Fantaboy says, now that THQ Nordic owns Tomb Raider, when will we see Tomb Raider on Nintendo Switch? I have no idea. I think the classics could translate very nicely to Nintendo Switch, even Angel of Darkness, which I still weirdly love, but I'm just so curious. I'm using this as an opportunity now to just talk about like what THQ Nordic could do with Tomb Raider. They've already announced that they're making the next game, and I'd love to see, this is like not like a hot take or anything, but I'd love to see a back to basics Lara Croft. A new adventure, not a remake of the first game or anything like that, but classic, kind of over the top Tomb Raider, but in a new adventure. I wouldn't even mind like them updating her a little bit by making her badass, but like badass in the standards of now, but still in that like over the top, cartoony, almost comic book type way, you know? Basically, long story short, not to be cringeworthy, I want to see like badass, sexy lady with 2 cool guns who is smart and good at shooting and backflipping and archaeology. And speaking of archaeology, Shoff29 says, did you ever play the old Mummy Returns or Scorpion King video games in the PlayStation 2 generation? Yes, the PlayStation 2 Mummy Returns game was pretty cool because you could play as Rick, but you could also play as Emotep and you could run around and grab dudes and suck them, like suck their suck their life. How would you feel about a new Mummy game, whether in the Brendan universe or otherwise? Sure. I don't know, really. Mummies as a concept could just be cool for a video game. But he also asks, are you excited about the upcoming Indiana Jones game? Any wishes for it? My thing with the Indiana Jones is that I think that, and really like a lot of the stuff that we're doing now with like deep fakes and like, you know, bringing back younger characters over older actors' faces, I think that tech could be used perfectly for a video game. And I think Indiana Jones is the perfect example of that. They want to, you know, bring him back and make him look young for a new movie and stuff like that. Yeah, it's questionable, whatever. Some people like it, some people don't. But that technology is squandered. That technology can be used perfectly and way less awkwardly in a video game. You can have Harrison Ford forever in a game. Well, maybe not forever, but like, you know, you could definitely get more life, more juice out of Indiana Jones in compelling ways in a video game. I have no real like requests for a new Indiana Jones game, except like I just hope the story is actually pretty good. Not really like the indie story, but like just the myth behind whatever adventure he's on. Like that has to be good. We've done it in Indiana Jones video games in the past, but also my other request is just short round. Just put him in the game. We could do it. Can we do it? I don't know, but I would like to see that. I love him. Hey, now next up, before we keep going, you probably know what the deal is. This video is sponsored by our friends at Factor. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep, and they've been feeding me good. I don't know if you guys know this, don't be alarmed, but we're already in spring. So if you're like me, you're trying to get your act together a little bit, kind of just trying to beef up how I work, how I feel, how I eat, Factor has been really clutch. They show up, they're fresh, nutritious, they actually taste good, and you can just heat them up in the microwave and have them ready in minutes. So you're not losing any time shopping for groceries or meal prepping or any of that boring stuff. You just get good food. And especially as lately I've been trying to eat right, but I also have been having to work more. Having this stuff figured out and I'm not splurging on fast food has been good. They have a bunch of different stuff too. They offer keto, calorie smart, chef's choice, vegan and veggie options, which include meat, seafood, and plant-based meals, so there really is something for everybody here. Their menus are updated weekly and include over 27 meals and over 33 add-on options. A lot of choices to eat right, feel good, but on your terms. So, you want to check it out? Head to factor75.com and use code ONJAKE50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. That's a good deal. I'm hooking you up with some food. So again, that's factor75.com. Use code ONJAKE50. Click that link in the description, and big thanks to Factor for sponsoring this Q&A video. Vincent S says, I will not rest until I get your takes on hip-hop, or at least New York rap. Who do you enjoy? Old Game Ranks videos are littered with little hip-hop references from you. I think I've answered this in a Q&A before, but real quick, off the top of my head, Digital Underground right now. EPMD, my favorites really are Eric B. and Rakim. Also, more recently, Abstract Mind State. They dropped a new album like a year ago. Look into that. It's really good. Also, Nas. Basically, stuff you'd expect, but you know, you might look at me and not think I'm into that stuff, but I'm bumping that shit on the daily. Dawson says, hey, love your content. Thank you. My question comes from a weird kind of place. I'm deeply fascinated by the events of Chernobyl and was curious, which would you rather have a game set in Chernobyl with irradiated monsters, created the explosion kind of in the vein of Resident Evil, or a full-on horror game about living through the events and or the fallout immediately afterwards? I also have been very interested from a young age of Chernobyl. When I was younger, it was like, oh my God, what's that crazy thing that happened? And as I've gotten older and read and researched about it, like it was just very interesting from different standpoints. To be honest, I'm over the monster irradiated thing. I think we've done that enough. It is a cool subgenre, yes, but now knowing so much more about the real story, the real life implications, the governmental, the people aspect to it, there's something there. And I think, honestly, cool indie game about story making decisions. Like, I want to be the government official or the lab techs making the decisions in the heat of the moment. That can make for something compelling and horrific in different ways type of thing. Like those video games where you have to make hard decisions like Frostpunk or This War of Mine would translate over so well to this type of situation. How exactly would they make it compelling? Like, how would you really feel for the decisions knowing, you know, taking too long will impact lives? I don't know, but there's something there. Get the developers from Papers, Please on it or something, because that could be cool. Excellent question. NerdCentric says, hey, Jake, got a Nintendo Switch recently. What games can you recommend? Off the top of my head, Faster Than Light, I think, is on Switch. That's a good version on Switch. Tears of the Kingdom, sure. West of Loathing is a really good indie on Switch. ARMS, this is gonna sound weird, but like, I like ARMS. I still like ARMS. I don't care. Nobody cares, but I did. Rocheman, friend of the show, thank you very much for having my back still, says, do you think there's an ideal way to revive these dead Konami franchises that seem to be coming back into the fold? Remake something you're into, new entries? I just wish they do a solid port of everything from Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill, Castlevania. Yeah, dude, I agree mostly with solid ports first and foremost. I've talked about this in other videos and I'm going to go more in depth soon, but like, I don't know about new Metal Gear games. As someone who is just, my life is tied to that series, I'm nervous. But what I can say on the opposite side is I think Castlevania is ripe for a new horizon, new beginnings. Gothic, spooky, but fun action horror, over the top, awesome stuff is kind of like gone to the wayside in terms of games. Like a big AAA Castlevania game with spooky vibes, haunted castles, vampires, demons, werewolves, specters of the night, the macabre could be awesome. I'm good. I don't need to see like a remake of one of the original Castlevania games. I think they can come up with a new thing, a new Belmont, Why not? There's something there. Maddie the Gooner says, we're heading into gaming Christmas with all these announcements. So what are some games that we know are announced you just want to hear more on? Right now, off the top of my head, really, is it weird that it's like Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed Mirage? I want to see what the deal is with that Avatar game. I would also like to hear more on Little Devil Inside, because people always ask me a couple of questions in these comments, actually. What's going on with Little Devil Inside? We haven't heard anything about that game in a while, so I'm hoping like PlayStation will show some. I don't know. The second part of his question, what would you love to see announced at one of those showcases? For me, in terms of like realistic stuff, I'd love to get a look at one of the many new Star Wars games in development. That's a basic answer, but that's me. You know me. Australian for Beer says, is there any pop culture, such as a novel, movie, or comic book series that has been untapped that you think would make a good base for a video game? Yes, 100%. First, the Wizard of Earthsea. It's a weird one, but it's an old fantasy novel from like the 60s, 70s, kind of dubbed as like kids' books, but you know, it's still really good. It's kind of like a coming of age tale, fantasy Tolkien-esque thing, but centered around a mage, a young mage, and a coming of age story in this really cool land. Different vibes from a lot of other fantasy stuff. I love that book. I never read the other Earthsea things by author Ursula K. Le Guin, but that first one whisked me away. A really great adventure that I think could make for a good video game. Straight up. I cannot believe I pulled that out of my ass. Also, survival games are huge. People love survival games. I'm not the biggest survival game guy, but I like ones that have a through line or some story. Sometimes those survival games with a story can really work. And there's so many stories that beg for that. Hatchet, come on. My Side of the Mountain, come on. You might say, hey, Jake, when was the last time you read a book? When you were in 6th grade? I was like, no. But those are the ones that had the strongest impact on me. So I would love to see that. Like, those lend themselves to games where you're in the woods cutting down a tree, trying to make a knife, and eating a bird. Hakan asks, kind of like a mental exercise, games don't exist. No video games, tabletop games, nothing. What would you do for a living and in your free time? For a living, I don't know. I got a couple of things I could do tech-wise, but in my free time, I am incredibly boring, and my one big hobby is tied to my job, so it's hard to answer that. I like tinkering. I like kind of just tending to things. I like cleaning. So I don't know what I would do. Like slowly learn how to fix up an old car or fix up an old house or something. I could see myself doing that. I'm not naturally good with my hands, but I love it and I try. So I would probably spend more time pursuing that. Does that make sense? God, I've gotten so boring. Billy B says, what kind of pizza do you like? You always mention it. What's your go-to order? This is another one I think I may have answered before. I apologize if you've watched all these, but I'm from New York. Things are pretty limited. I mean, you can get crazy pizzas here, but pizza for us is you walk in for $2, $3, you get a slice. A slice is just what some people in other parts of the country would call a cheese slice, a plain slice, if you will. Most of the times here, we call it a regular. Plain slice, maybe a little red pepper flakes, a little garlic powder on it if you're feeling fancy, or a cold cheese slice, depending on where you go, which is a regular slice of pizza, but then you get a cup of regular cheese, not yet cooked, that you just dump on top of a hot slice. That's good, especially after coming from a bar. But Sicilian, also really like Sicilian, also really like grandma. Detroit slice, extremely underrated. I've come around on that. There's a lot of good lore behind Detroit slices, but it's just good shit. So I am an equal opportunity pizza person. As much as I think my pizza is the best, New York pizza, I will try them all. And Ultimate Bro says, who's your favorite video game composer? Ultimate Bro says, without a doubt, it's Jesper Kyd. And damn, I agree, man. I really do. Jesper Kyd was incredible. Like some of the Splinter Cell games, the Hitman games, early Assassin's Creed games, like it was just shit that really hit for me at the right time. The Freedom Fighter score, he says in his question, and I agree, is incredible. The earlier Hitman games, like Hitman 2, I think the original Hitman 2, Silent Assassin, has some of the best music. So yeah, he's my choice. Also, a lot of Japanese composers just go crazy and should also be respected. But top of mind, like name, yeah, it's like Uematsu and Jesper Kid. All right, I think I've taken up enough of your time, but thank you for hanging out, listening to me today. Cover some stuff I don't normally cover. Making some videos behind the scenes. I'm working on some videos behind the scenes to build up for when I go to Summer Game Fest in early June. Hopefully we get some good juicy announcements there. But for now, just leave your questions for the next Q&A video down here. Bonus points for relevant stuff that'll make a good title and thumbnail for the video. Gotta do what I gotta do. But yeah, anything you want to hear me talk about, any subject, any game, any movie, whatever, hit me up. I'm down to talk. And thank you guys for being down to listen and hang out. That's it. If you like this video, if you like what I'm trying to do here, just have fun. Clicking the like button helps me. Thank you. But that's it, guys. I'm Jake Baldino. See you in the next one. Pizza's on me. Subscribe because video games.